Welcome back to our blog, Low Expectations in Public Education. Hope everybody had a great holiday. Now that we're all back in full swing, just want to catch people up on some of what's happened since we last provided an update. Hopefully this will be a pretty quick one, but you got to see it to believe it. So we had actually requested, after we got the sum of $8,128.55, to get a breakdown of what actually went into that. Seemed like a rather large cost for what we're looking for. These are documents that should be sitting right in the office or in the old firehouse from the process that and procedures that I had understood as I was part of the board, unless that was inaccurate information as well, which probably would be no surprise to anybody. So here's the response I received. And I love this part about, I believe the appropriate form to respond to such an inquiry would be a telephone conversation or meeting. Now that would be great for our superintendent because there'd be no record of the conversation or what was said. And I'm not sure about you, but my experience with the superintendent, I have no interest and desire to actually speak with, meet with, or interact with the superintendent. So let's look at the breakdown that we received, and we're going to blow this up just a little bit because let's see if we make this a little bit bigger for everybody. So let's look at what went into that cost. So here, if you look here, we asked for some canceled checks, deposit slips, electronic transfers, purchase orders, etc. Now look at some of these numbers. So the bank statements estimated from Bangor Savings Bank, and this is right in line with what I would expect from doing some research and also being a client there, about $50 for all that information. So that's pretty easy. You just request it from the bank. It looks like canceled checks front and back, $2,894. And remember the time frame of March through October 15 to 16, and that's picked for a couple different reasons. One, you get the final quarter of one financial year and the first quarter next financial year, but you also get a little tidbit of third quarter and a little tidbit of second quarter. So you really, without getting a full 12 months, you can really get an idea of how things work around here and a real good sample. The other time frame that's really interesting about that is that's the time I was signing warrants, right? So this information I've already seen, so I started signing warrants in the spring. And then, of course, in October, I was disinvited from signing warrants because these were the warrants that actually got me asking the questions of which has led to all of this work in the first place. So then you look down here and you see POs, approvals, documents, $2,894. And it's a neat thing here. Look at this. They're going to charge 25 cents per copy. Okay. Now, also notice, not only are they charging 25 cents a copy, you can go to Staples and get a copy for $2. But look at this, 15 cents or $15 an hour. And to make these copies for these deposit slips would be 20 hours. 20 hours, okay? Now, you could actually request those from the bank at the same time you did the statements, just like with the VZ documentation. One set of documents we got just had some checks. The other one actually had full front and back checks and also all of the deposit slips that we were able to look at, which was interesting and allowed us to understand that there was one actual transaction we're looking for that we did not see, but that will be tackled at another time. But so then you go down here, so you get 20 hours to make photocopies of deposit slips. Okay, or if you're actually digitally storing these, you could just drop it in a zip file and send it to somebody or just print them out. But 20 hours, I mean, how slow does that photocopier go? And so when you look at this, now we come down to the POs and approvals, $2,894, authorizations to pay, $2,894, packing slips, $2,894. So you get 25 cents again. So look at $723.50 per. Plus they're going to charge you hours. Look at this. To copy the PO, 56 hours. 56 hours to copy the purchase and order agreements, of which I can tell you right now, there are not 2,894 of them. Remember, I've seen all this before. Okay, now authorizations to pay is only 32 hours. Now, let me ask you a question. Like, wouldn't all these be together? Like, if you're actually running an office that had any controls in it or had any type of efficiency or had any type of process in it, so it's going to take 32 hours to photocopy or obtain and photocopy the authorization to pay, 56 hours for the purchase orders. Like, I'm not going to say it sounds like, well, no, let's just say, give them the benefit of the doubt. So far, I don't know if those are the same hours being charged twice, but so far we have 88 hours to make photocopies, right? I know a lot of people volunteer in our schools and they make a lot of photocopies, saying about 88 hours. It's over 2 weeks full time in front of a copier. Come on, give me a break. So then packing slips, I don't know why packing slips take such a less amount of time, but it's 4.27 hours. How in the world do you come up with 4.27 hours? Right, so when you think about total cost here, okay, you get $2,100 just in photocopies. Can you imagine? Okay. So then you come down to the gate receipts, and here's what I like here. So you get game day night tally sheets, 150 of them, 25 cents a copy, 37.50. That's going to take 6 hours. Now here you get game day night tally sheets. Looks like the exact same thing, 150 hours. So they're just going to make duplicates and copy us. Now I know the board's really been looking at innovation, and nothing against anybody on the board. Once again, I've made that clear. But really, is this a new revenue stream? Like if someone from the public asks for public documents, like we just charge them an outrageous amount? Well, let's see what we go down here. Now here's a neat thing. Look at the receipts from the high school AD, 150 of them, 25 cents a copy. And this is going to take 60 hours to obtain. 60 hours to obtain and copy 150 pieces of paper. 60 hours. Where are they? I mean, think about it. You can drive to Florida in what, 24 or 20, or depending on what part you're going to. 60 hours. Now, this apparently was given to the board as justification for this price, and the board looked at this and said, yes, this looks accurate. This looks right. Where did any of these numbers come from? Would anybody be able to back that up? 60 hours. Think about it. Divide 60 by 150 pieces of paper. I mean, what's on this? Okay, so then you go to the receipts from the central office. Now, that's only 6 hours. Right? Now look at this. These I really like. Refile all documents, 13 and a half and 13 and a half hours. So 27 hours to refile them. Well, why does it take less time to refile them than it takes to unfile them? Think about that for a second. So you look up, you get 88 hours plus this. So now you're what? 248 hours, right? Now you're at now you're at what? 260 hours, 264 hours. So it takes 10 times the amount of time to find these documents and copy them than it does to put them back. I don't know. Maybe I just, I'm really slow. Okay, now warrants. Okay, so there's 500 warrants apparently. So there's 500 warrants, but 2,894 payments. Okay? So 500 warrants, 25 cents, $125, and 60 hours here too. So 60 hours. Now, when you think about the warrants, actually, there's some stacks of paper here. I mean, when I used to go in, there'd be a big stack of paper. So 60 hours for these warrants. And once again, not only charging us 10 times the going rate at a local Staples, but these are black and white, but also charging us the hours it takes. So they're charging you for the copies, plus they're charging you for the hours that it takes to make the copies and find these documents. But it gets better than this, because look at this down here. Supplies, they're going to charge you $75 for the supplies. What in the world does the 25 cents cover? Oh my goodness, you talk about a great innovative revenue stream. Let's just put it to the public. Right, you want public documents that should have been shared in the first place easily, right? If you go back and look at FOIA from my last one and talk about how much you can charge this guy. So now look at this. Central oversight of the project, 45 hours. So now when you think about it, you get 319 hours, okay, wrapped up in this project. Now, 45 of it's oversight. Now here's the beauty part. Okay, so you figure 45, so that's what? So that leaves 270 something hours unsupervised? Like, what part do they supervise? Are they supervising the photocopying? Are they supervising taking the document out of the filing cabinet? Are they supervising make people don't fall down when they go from one part of the office to the other part of the office? I'm really not understanding this. And really, if we don't have these documents digitally stored, what decade are we working in? You remember from a previous video, one of the procedures was updated in 2001. I think that's pre-iPhone. I think that's pre-iPad. I think that's pre a lot of things that we use on a daily basis. Like, all of this stuff should be accessible right online. I mean, think about the time frame that I was asking for. The books just closed. I think the audit was presented on December 14th. I made the request from the partnership on November 27th. How do they do things? Like, how are they making their budget if they can't find their documents? How does the board validate any of the legitimacy of any of the numbers? If you look back at the blog, and if you haven't looked at the rest of the blog, I'd start with this one and work my way backward. And if you look at the stuff that we have from VZ, I mean, thinking about it, you put revenue out for a quarter that's less than the actual check that you receive. Do any of these numbers have any validity at all? Or are they just all made up? I mean, look at this. 319 hours to fulfill this process. 319 hours. Do the math at 40 hours a week. How much time is going to be spent in on this? But you know what? As a partnership, we're able to get together and we said, okay, look at this. This seems outrageous to us. But it seems to be quite a burden on the office. Apparently, it's even less efficient than we ever thought it may be. Super inefficient. Now, there's a policy that states that it needs to run efficiently, but no, apparently not. So we have a treasurer that can't really account for funds. We have a process that's so inefficient that's going to take 319 hours to produce this. Now, this was the first of 4 forward requests. And this one went first because we thought this would be the easiest. Okay, so let's move forward. So after having a chance over the holidays to catch up with everybody involved and really get an understanding of what we want to do next, we actually figured we'd follow up. So we take a little bit of time. Everything works kind of slowly here. And so, oops, let me see here. Go back here and see if we can pull up this one. Oh, wait. Yeah, let's close this one first. Oh, well, here we go. All right, so we followed up and we asked for a little bit of a breakdown from Mr. Lyons. So we asked for, and so here we go. So this should be, so here we go. So sorry about that little delay, but we followed up and we figured, okay, so this is gonna be a huge burden on the office. We don't really want that to happen. We don't have a lot of things. So we did let them know that we appreciate the breakdown from December 14th, had a chance to review the information provided and possible options to minimize the cost and burden on your office. We're willing to pay $50 quoted for the requested bank statements, canceled checks from front and back. Regarding the requested deposit slips, warrants, purchase orders, approvals, payroll, and gate receipt documents, we have decided it would be more efficient if we exercise the option provided under FOA to come to the office and review the records on site. So we're offering, hey, you don't do anything. You just produce the records, right, which you need to be able to do anyhow, and we'll just come look at them on site, right? Last thing I want to do is walk into that white building, but hey, I'll do it. The kids are worth it. Our students are worth it. Okay. We would request that all of the requested records be made available at the same time, which would make sense, including the above-mentioned bank statements and canceled checks. We'll pick them up to limit any disruption to the operation of the office and limit time spent by us. Our time is valuable. I don't know if anybody realizes this isn't full-time for any of us, but we feel the students are worth it. We'll bring the $50 payment for the bank documents at the time. Please let us know what date the documents will be available for review, and depending on scheduling, there will at least 2, possibly 3 individuals on site to review. We would ask that appropriate accommodations be provided for 3 people to be able to review the documents at the same time. We appreciate your cooperation with FOA requests. Sincerely, Partners of Kinevia. Okay? I'm not sure what was wrong with this kind of information. I remember on his request before, it's the thing about the phone call in the meeting. Yeah, as if, right? I think our superintendent needs to realize who he works for. I do not work for them. Nobody on this project works for this person, right? So we have really no reason to meet with them in person. So then we go to the next email, which would come from Mr. Lyons, and having once again a little technological difficulty here, but we will figure this out. All right, let's see if we can get this. This is beautiful. Okay, so this is Friday afternoon, all right? And let's see if we can get rid of this over here. All right, so we can see everything. Get rid of this. Okay, I'm responding to email as of today. All right, asking the December 18th email, I expect all subsequent communication after this email to either telephone call or personal meeting. Really? You have, there is nothing that says this has to be, any smart person, anybody that does the work that we do, and anybody has a background, everything isn't right. You want documentation of it, because can you imagine if this happened verbally? There'd be no record of it, right? The amount associated with the request is the same, $8,128.55 in order to produce requested items. It's over 300 hours of personal time. You must compensate $15 an hour. Therefore, I will not instruct my office to proceed until $8,128.55 is received in my office. Now, this is beautiful district math led by our superintendent. Wouldn't you think now, if you go back and look at the over $2,000 in copying fee at 25 cents a copy, now remember, they're not making a copy, so wouldn't you at least minus $2,000? All we're asking for them to do is take the files out of a filing cabinet or off a digital file and put it into a zip folder. Just make them available. 8,000. Now, when you take time invested from our partners, that would be, or the folks that are working on this, a partner on this project, you take their time invested. It's more expensive to go to the office and look at them than it is to have them produce it for you. $8,128.55. Now, here's the beauty part. Here's one of the things I really can't understand is when you go back to what we were looking at before, right? When you look at the old spreadsheet there. And it cracks me up that one of the things I didn't mention earlier, and this is the part that really gets me, because I think that you wouldn't need this either. I'm not sure why you need it anyway. But on the original estimate, you see something that I really didn't expect to see, but you'd think you wouldn't need this. So you have, remember with that project, you have 45 hours of supervisory time, which now will no longer be needed. You have all those copies that would no longer be needed. And there was also down here, look at this. Now, this is what I thought was kind of interesting too. You don't need the $75 in supplies. You don't need the $2,824.50, right? So take $2,824.50. Then you add the $75. Okay, and then you figure all the hours of which it would take for all that photocopying be minus, so you're at least down $2,899.50. And look at this one. This one I like. Legal consultation, $500. Okay, these are warrants that anybody can walk in at any time. You could walk into the office anytime and say, yeah, can I just see the warrants? Yeah. No, it would be kind of rude because you want to give them a little bit of heads up or whatever, because you could disrupt the office. But if you go in there, you'll find it's not really all that hectic. But you also have so when you think about the number of hours, and then you'd also think these hours that it takes for the photocopying minus, so you'd think you'd take at least $3,000 off of the price, right? So as we head into budget season, I think there's a forum on the 17th talking about the turf field. Now remember, $1.6 million in the bank, right? But they're going to ask us for another $750,000. What I'll ask everybody to do is this: 10,300 roughly registered voters in our 4 communities. Take 1.6 million and divide it by 10,300. See how much money they're withholding from you. Money they've kept from the students and are withholding from you. And this is the kind of math they use. Now, this is Forward. Go read up on Forward. Go back to the other blogs. But if someone could help me understand how this math adds up at all, and if you looked at the accuracy of the financials handling in the statements of which we received before, which have been proved to be inaccurate, and then you take this one, inaccurate. Really? They're going to ask for another $750,000 or $800,000 for this field, of which they already have money in the bank, supposedly. Has anybody validated that? I don't know. All right, so what are the options? Here's a couple of things, something to think about. Okay, from the Department of Education, if you get 20% of your constituency, so say there's roughly 10,300 voters, if you get 20% of those, right, to sign on to a request, so roughly 2,060, I'd shoot for like 2,200 just to make sure there's no error there. The Department of Education will have to come in and do a full operational audit. It's time consuming, it's lengthy. I can't believe the board would make us go this route. But I'm thinking if we put as much time and vigor, just a little bit, as we do with our booster clubs, our PTOs, et cetera, if it's really important to our community, 2,200 signatures or so, they come in. Or if you went to a recent proficiency meeting and you came away less than confident, I go back and look at 4 million, 4 years, these are the results we get. The reason why we're not where we need to be from a proficiency standpoint as a district is because of the strategic plan that was put in place back in 2013, of which was supposed to get this district ready so that we'd be in a place now where we'd feel good about our sophomore class all graduating come a couple years from now. Fail, but go look for yourself. Now remember, I haven't created any of these documents. I'm just the one reviewing them. Many of the people that are helping out on this, and I think maybe they're thrown off by the fact that it's not just me. Other people are anonymous because why would you want to shoot attention to anybody else except for me? I'm already out there, right? The other option is you have about 10,300 registered voters. If everybody gave $1, we could give this district, who apparently is hard up for cash, the 8,000 plus for the documents. We'd want to have a little cushion. That's why I say if everybody gave $1, because you know that before these documents are produced, it's going to cost more, right? I mean, anything to make sure these documents don't go public, right? So we could also do that route. Or anybody can call one of their folks, right? One of their representatives, ask, what in the world? Maybe somebody could explain this to us. Maybe they couldn't. I don't know. But, well, that's all for now. I could get running. Obviously, we all have work to do. But I appreciate everybody's time. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But I just had to share this because unbelievable. And it couldn't get better. $8,128.55. Whether or not they produce the documents, which is going to take them over 300 hours, but apparently even without photocopying, just to get these documents is over 300 hours. And remember, these are all pretty recent documents that should be right on hand, unless the process and procedure that I was explained when I was on the board once again was inaccurate, which would mean that, oh boy, okay, are there any policies in which this group works within? Maybe we could ask our policy chair. I don't know. Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate your time. Sorry for the little glitches there along the way. And talk to you soon.